Hi, I'm Peter Martin. Welcome to this one-to-one on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm delighted to say our special guest is Brian Rice, former Hibs, Nottingham Forest player, quite a few other clubs, and of course a manager of Hamilton Accies not so long ago. There's so much to talk about, Brian. I'm absolutely delighted to get the chance to chat to you. Let me take you back to those early days of being a young footballer. Did you get that sense that you were going to get a chance to play for some wonderful managers in the future? What was your ambitions?
My ambition was always to try and play in England and try to play for Scotland. I started off at Hibs. Wally Orman signed me as a 16-and-a-half-year-old once I left school. And it was great in those days. It was great because there wasn't the big squads and everybody just trained together, trained with the first team as a 16, 17-year-old. But my ambition was just to play football and try and make a living and eventually try to get down to England.
Yeah, it's strange actually. I mean, did you have that in your head from the early days that you thought, right, the lure, I want to be part of that English First Division, the Premier League as it eventually developed into?
Well, we all watch Match of the Day, Peter, don't we? Match of the Day, and you used to watch the wonderful games for England. I've obviously went to football all my life up here in Scotland. And didn't matter what team was playing, Celtic, Rangers, Motherwell, Aberdeen, it doesn't matter. My dad used to take me to all the games, but there was something special about sports night on a Wednesday night. It'd come on the TV and you see the European games, and you'd see the big First Division games as you say in England, and I don't know, the lure was always there. It wasn't a financial lure, believe me, it wasn't. It was just, I just felt as though that looked a fantastic league, and I hadn't been to any of those grounds, and some famous names and some famous managers, and that was the lure for me.
Yeah. Who were your idols?
My idols was Glen Hoddle and Tommy Burns. That was my two idols. I remember as a kid when I used to be at Celtic, I trained with a lot of the Celtic younger boys at that time, and Tommy Burns was one of them. Roy Aitken, Pat Bonner, Charlie Nicholas, Danny Craney. I was younger than him, but we used to go in and train with them during the summer, and Tommy Burns for me was magical. And Glen Hoddle was my English one. Two left footers, by the way.
Yeah, well, I was going to say to you, not only that, but I mean, apart from anything else, my knowledge of Tam is right on the mark, because I thought his patter was absolutely sensational. But I see great similarities because, for me, when I was watching you as a youngster coming through, the left peg, and as you've just mentioned there, I mean, I'm glad you've narrowed Hoddle down to a left peg. He could hit it with either foot 40 yards. He was unbelievable.
It was amazing. And some of his goals. But I don't look at the goals when I look at players. Like, I don't want to compare myself to any of those players. Trust me, I don't. I look at the assists I created, and I look at the assists that they create. I don't look at the goals they scored, really. I look at their passes, their crosses, their weighted pass, their angled pass, and I get great delight out of that. I get more delight out assisting than I ever did scoring.
Yeah,
I really did.
What was your relationship? What was it like in that? The banter must have been superb. What were the guys like to you as a youngster?
Oh, they were fantastic. I mean, Jackie McNamara's dad, Ruffy, Ali McLeod, Gordon Ray, Craig Pearce, especially at Hibs as a youngster coming through, because I made the breakthrough pretty early, and I played a few games. But, it was a hard school. It was hard. Eric Shadler, I had to do his boots, and if I didn't get everything right, I'd get the ears against the hot pipes in the drying room, so it was hard. It was hard growing up, but it was a great lesson. It was a fantastic lesson. I used to leave the house at 6:15 and get the bus to Edinburgh, jump off the bus, get on another bus and run down to Easter Road and be in for 8:30. And John Labby, who was the coach, stayed about half a mile away from me, and he was probably leaving the house at 7:45 in his car. But I never ever once got a lift there or back, and I think it was brilliant grounding for me.
Yeah,
because I had to make my own way.
Yeah, and the players that you suddenly found yourself playing alongside. I mean, listen, the amount of Hibbies that I would chat to who'd tell me stories. I mean, even Paul Kane once saying to me, he used to ask Stevie Archibald if he could get a run down to training in his Rolls Royce. I mean, the boys that were in that Hibs side at the time that you were playing alongside, all good lads.
They were great lads, and like young Paul was coming through, Gordon Hunter, Mickey Weir, and somebody you might know, John Collins. John actually took my place when I left. When I left to go to Nottingham Forest, John came in and filled my position. So Hibs got a bargain there.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, I mean, that just shows you the conveyor belt of talent. Did you feel at that time when you were in that Hibs team that you felt, I'm going through a great learning curve. Was there someone there that maybe took you under your wing? You mentioned the influence of Tommy Burns and the people that you were watching at Celtic. Was there someone at Hibs that just gave
Jackie
you those steers?
McNamara. Yeah, Jackie Senior. You know, he used to guide me a lot. He used to look after me on the pitch and give me a lot of good advice. Eric Shadler, Arthur Duncan, those three. And I've got to mention Ralph Callaghan. You know, I played in midfield with Ralph, and Ralph used to keep me right. But not just on the pitch, in the dressing room, teach me little things, you know, don't do this, live your life like this, do that. And Jackie and Ralph were absolutely fantastic for me.
Yeah, I mean, getting a move is one thing, but getting a move to Nottingham Forest is just another. I mean, I'm lucky enough to be one of those characters who can say, I was down in his house, Cloughie made the tea, we sat down, and I just rolled the camera, and I mean, honestly, I was in awe of him. I mean, there are very few people in life that you meet, you think, wow, but he just was absolutely magical. I mean, what was it like for you?
Oh, it's probably the greatest period ever that I have had in my life. The stories, they're all true. That's the thing, nothing's made up about him. You know, he was fantastic, he really was. His man management, his sense of humour, just everything about him. When I first signed, the time I signed, Archie Gemmell picked me up at the hotel, you know, and took me, meeting Archie Gemmell was a big thing, but took me to the city ground and we chapped at his door. And we went in and he had his head down writing in a book. And he just and Archie said, I brought the Scotsman. And he just lifted his head and he went, blow me at Steve Davis. I didn't know what to say. He was Brian Clough, you know, the legend. And I sat all day with him. And he got me a sandwich, you know that. We sat in his office and we sat and watched the cricket. I was supposed to be signing. And he phoned Alec Ferguson about me. He said, I don't know much about you, but my scouts will tell me this and that. I'll phone someone, and they phoned Alec Ferguson, and you know, so it really was. It was just amazing, Peter. Yeah. He looked after me so much.
Tell me about signing the contract.
Oh, well, when I was signing, I'd signed a contract to get me past the tribunal, one of the first tribunals, and he told me after the tribunal, we'll get you a proper contract. So he took myself and Jim McNally in, and he says to Jim, show the Scotsman there how much you trust me and sign that blank contract. Jim just looked at him and says, show him you can trust me. So Jim signed it. He says, right, if you can trust me, surely you can trust me. So I signed the contract. I went home. My missus says, well, I said, I've signed. She says, how long for? I says, I don't know. How much you getting? I don't know. You getting a sign-on fee? I don't know. She says, you sure you've signed the contract? I said, I've signed something. So it wasn't at the end of the month. I looked at my wage slip and a copy of the contract. All right, I've signed for 3 years, great. 2 months later, same, into my office. You've done really well. Sign there. What is it, Gaff? It's a new contract. Okay, same again. Back home again. Same again, same conversation. End of the month. Well, I've actually got 4 years now. This happened 3 times in 6 months. And it's just, you just trusted him. You know, you just trusted him. He was God.
Yeah.
He was God.
I mean, it's funny you saying that. I mean, you know, one of the guys I always loved chatting with about him, Dean Saunders, mentions the same thing. He said it was so mental, the situations that he put you in, and John Robertson hoovering up in his living room. I mean, you joined a club which had a tremendous history, great players. One of my heroes I mentioned there, John Robertson. What about the calibre of player you suddenly found yourself playing alongside?
I couldn't believe it, Peter. I just couldn't believe it. I played in a team with 5 England internationals in it. I also played with a guy that played for Real Madrid against Aberdeen in the Cup Winners' Cup final, Johnny Method.
Yeah. He could hit a ball.
Oh, Johnny was 6'3", size 14 shoes, and you couldn't get the ball off him. You just couldn't get the ball off him. This guy was sensational. But you had Des Walker, Stuart Pearce, Neil Webb, Nigel Clough, Steve Hodge, all playing for England, all on our team. You know, I was overawed. There's no doubt I was overawed for a spell, and then I came out of my shell a little bit. I mean, I'm just a big skinny white guy for Whitburn. You know, all of a sudden I'm training with these international players, and then we're bringing in Irish internationals. Roy Keane comes in, you know, Teddy Sheringham comes in, and we start building this team. And the training was phenomenal. It was the same training every single day. Every day it was the same training. Never once did we do shooting, crossing and finishing, set plays, shape, nothing. All we done was go down, do a warm-up, bit of tunnel ball or something, old v young, small hockey goals, the goalkeepers played. And we've done that every single day. Nothing.
It's incredible. I mean, did he say, I mean, I remember, Jim McAnally said he signed and then they walked along the Trent and then that was it. They just come back and everybody took it as the norm.
It was the norm. Like I said, the training. I went for Hibs where we were up and down Arthur's Seat and we were round Arthur's Seat and we were round the track and we were playing 11v11 and its shape and set plays. To all of a sudden, nothing. And then he closes the gym.
Did he say anything on match day?
Yeah. He used to come in about 2:45, pour himself a drink, sit down, put a towel in the middle of the floor, put the ball on top of it and say, it'll roll better there than it will up there. Go out and play, enjoy yourself and make sure we win.
Wow.
Or I'll go home now with a 0-0.
Wow.
We love clean sheets. They love clean sheets.
And of course, with the guys, I can remember. I think there's a story about Graham Souness saying, I've been playing five-a-sides and everything in training with Liverpool, and then he said eventually, I think to somebody like Ronnie Moran, what do you want me to do? And he said, if we've got to tell you what you've got to do when we signed you from Middlesbrough, we've signed the wrong guy. Go out there and play football. That's what you're paid to do. Very
much similar there. You just knew your position. You never got coached it. You just played. I played in front of Stuart Pearce. He played left back. I played wide. And at corners, you just played that position. The full-backs went on the post. The big boys picked up. I remember his famous thing ever was when I playing wide was always cross front post. Always hit front post. Front post, front post. And the strikers knew when I get it wide or Franz Carr gets it wide or Crosby gets it wide, just hit front post. We're playing a game, Peter, and I thought about 4 back post. And I goes in at half time and he says, what's the rules at this club? I said, front post, gaffer. He says, right, do it second half. First cross, second half, back post. Off. So we're playing the next Friday night against Aston Villa, away. I don't expect to be playing after that. Team goes up, I'm playing. So we're going down the stairs, going to the pitch at Villa, and Nigel's beside me, and he says to me, come here a minute, he says, go centre forward for a minute. Nigel, you go wide left. He says, I'll tell you when to change. 87 minutes. You can change now. I had Mountfield and another big centre half kicking hell at me. Kicking hell. I don't know where I was. We won 1-0. I goes up the stairs and I goes to get into the shower and he's lying in the bath. He says, well, did you learn a lesson tonight, Scotsman? I said, yes, gaffer. Always front post.
It's amazing, isn't it?
87 minutes he played me at centre forward.
Of course,
I've never been there in my life.
A lot of people wouldn't know. You will know it. He was a great goal scorer in his time.
Oh, fantastic. He used to tell us every Friday in the meeting. He used to tell us every Friday how many goals he scored. How good he was.
Yeah.
You think you were good? I done this and I done that.
Oh, he could have been top drawer but for injury. What's the maddest story from the Notts Forest days?
Oh, the maddest story is we were playing Birmingham and we got battered. And we were on the bus on the way back and the boys were moaning about the rooms were poor, the food wasn't good, this wasn't good, and he heard it and he came up and he says, you're right, it wasn't very good. In fact, she didn't even pay for it. The club paid for it. He says, so come in on Monday morning, 8:30. So we went in on Monday morning, 8:30, the first team. I said, right, down into the second team's dressing room area. The second team up into the first team. And we rolled reversed. We were doing all the kids' boots, the kids' laundry, everything, putting the kit out, taking the stuff down to the training ground, everything, for a week. It was fantastic. We had the young kids saying to us, Chipper, get me a cup of tea. You go and get me a cup of tea, and you'd walk back in and go, nah, make it coffee. We're doing their boots, we were doing the kids' boots, doing all the cleaning, sweeping them up. The first team done all the YTS jobs that week.
Psychologically, though, he must have. I mean, in a strange sort of way, some people would look at it as mental torture, but he must have got a great lesson over to you on the values.
Oh, that was it, the values. Never complain about anything. No, he was always trying to do his best for us. And it's the only time I ever heard them to complain about anything. He would never complain after that, Pierre. It was torture that week.
Did you feel once you settled down that you felt, I'm a Nottingham Forest player? Because I remember, I don't know about you, but if any Scot used to go down, because I'm a football nut, if any Scot went down there, I just wanted them to do well, and I would look and I'd follow them, and I'd remember you in FA Cup ties for Nottingham Forest, and I'm thinking to myself, you just want them to do well, want them to be good. Was there a period where you thought?
Yeah, there was a period. There was a period where I played a lot of games, and it was strange for me, Peter, because they played me wide, and I mean, I can't walk quick, never mind run quick, so I was always played midfield, or I played centre half when I first started.
Yeah.
And I found it strange, but I grew into it the way we played, because everyone was to feet and to pass and move, and I linked really well with Stuart, with Pearce. Me and him were brilliant friends, still are. So it had a great combination down that wing, And I just felt for a period, probably 88, 89, getting to the FA Cup semi-final, Hillsborough disaster, all that stuff. You know, I was in good form, and I was just disappointed that I never actually got the call to join up with Scotland. I don't know. Saying that, there's a lot of good wingers at that time, and a lot of young lads coming through. So, it was a brilliant time for me. Brilliant time.
You mentioned the highs there. You touched on something that must have had a psychological effect on you. I mean, Hillsborough for many people. I mean, I watched the Kenny Dalglish documentary, and I don't know how you got through a day-to-day basis.
It was incredible, Peter. We played them the year before, and we went out for the warm-up about 2:15. The ground was full. It was full. Same venue, Hillsborough. The year that it happened, when the lads went out for their warm-up, nowhere near full, quarter full. It was a roasting hot day, it was boiling. And then the drive down, people were sitting at the side of the road or just standing. Obviously no want to go in and stand in a terrace at that time in the heat. You know, I was sitting in the stand, I was sitting level with the 18-yard box at the Letting Lane's end. So I seen everything, absolutely everything. It was just horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrendous. And I don't know how, like you say, Kenny survived every single day. I really don't.
Yeah.
Every year it comes round, it's in your head.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing about it. It's absolutely gut-wrenching. And again, though, the lessons of things like that, you know, in good times and bad times, you're just footballers. You just have to get on. You just have to get back on out the pitch again. That must have been tough, because I think Liverpool's first game back was at Celtic Park, just to try and get them back into playing.
It was difficult. We didn't play for a few weeks, and we attended memorial services along with the Liverpool players. We'd have relatives and parents and brothers and sisters, the people who got killed, coming down to see us at Nottingham, watching the training, talking to us after training. We would go to the hospitals. It was a horrendous period in time. My own personal view was should never have replayed it. The FA Cup should just been shelved for a year. But obviously, you know, that's history. It really was a horrendous time. But as footballers, it's quite easy to go back on the pitch. People think it's easy to just go back and play football, but it wasn't. It really wasn't.
Yeah. In a strange sort of way, maybe not a lot of Nottingham Forest players are, interviewed, talking about the situation because it was so Liverpool orientated. Did you feel a sense as a Nottingham Forest player all those years later, the same joy and elation that the justice that the Liverpool fans got?
100%, 100%. At the end of the day, you know, what happened was wrong. It was wrong, whatever the causes were. You know, the fight for justice wasn't just for, it was for football. You know, and we were part of that. Nottingham Forest were part of that. Unfortunately, you know, we were part of it. So absolutely delighted when they got the justice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You mentioned there you played alongside Pearcey behind you. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, sometimes perception and reality of individuals is different. My vision of them is if I was playing against them, I'd be bricking it from minute one, because hard, a never say die attitude. My perpetual picture in my head of him is scoring the penalty after he'd missed one in 1990, and I think it was Euro 96.
It was, yeah.
And his fist is out there at the crowd, and that summed up Pearce. What was he like as a person?
Quiet, reserved, good fun, in his own company. We signed the same day. Me, him and Neil Webb signed on the same day. And I was in a hotel next to him. So me and him just used to, at night, share food and that, whatever, and we got to know each other really well. I brought him up to a couple of Old Firm games. Rangers tried to send him. So Grimson has tried to send him 3 or 4 times. But Liz, his wife at the time, she wouldn't move north, but very quiet, as in liked his own company. A select group of us. Loved his music, really big into his music, massively into Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah?
Marilyn Monroe, yeah. Books and books about Marilyn Monroe. I used to spend lots and lots of time with him, you know.
Did he have an influence on you with the music?
Oh, music, I don't know nothing about music. Absolutely. I remember this was true. It took me 2 or 3 years to this gig. I think you call it a gig, didn't you?
Yeah.
And it was called, the group was called Spear of Destiny.
Yeah, I know them, Liberator.
I don't know.
Kirk
Brandon.
Yeah.
Right. And that just sticks in my head. It was the first gig I've ever been to, and I went, what the hell is this?
Well, I was going to say to you,
I don't even know what it is.
it's not exactly a gig where you stand still.
No, we were in this, he took us to Birmingham, and we had a few beers and that before it, and we're in this, the ceiling was that height, and I just couldn't, I've never gone back to anything like this again in my life. But me and him were brilliant friends, but what a player.
Oh.
You know.
Is he the best you played with?
No, Johnny Method.
Yeah.
Johnny Method, Des Walker. But Stuart never done a warm-up before a game. Never went out onto the pitch ever before a game, apart from international level. He used to get a stretch in the dressing room. He just stretched in the dressing room. A bath, stretching. Never ever went out. And then one night we were about to go out, and he says, got a pair of scissors, he says, come here, into the toilet. I says, what? He says, cut my fringe. I says, what? He says, cut my fringe. He says, I can't see. So, Peter, I couldn't draw a straight line with a ruler. I swear to God, I'm useless. So there I am, cutting his fringe up and doing it. I said, oh, that's all right. So we won. So that was that superstition, midweek games at home. Come on, cut my fringe. Honestly, it just, what a player, but what a player.
Oh,
yeah. I remember Ted McMinn played with Derby at the time, and that was your local, Forest against Derby. That was it. We used to go, hi Ted, I'm going to get out of the left as quick as possible, he used to say to me. So I'll be switching wings, I'm not playing against him. Same with Kevin Gallagher at Coventry. Kevin used to go to me, I need to get as far away from him as possible.
Just showing you the stature of him. But a lot of players said he was hard but fair.
Oh yeah, he was the same in training. That's how he trained. He hard, yeah, fair, yeah, a winner, yeah, a gentleman, definitely.
Yeah. What was your favourite game?
My favourite game, funny enough, is the one that people remember, that Johnny Method scored a free kick against West Ham, where he nearly took the net out.
Was he about 30 yards out?
He was about 30 yards out, and I was standing in the wall next to Ray Stewart, and I says to Ray Stewart, you better watch him here, and he was laughing. But that was my favourite game, because West Ham were going for the league that year.
Yeah. Was Macca in the side?
Yeah.
He banged about 28 goals.
Yeah, him and Tony Cotty.
Yeah.
And I scored the winner that night. Nobody ever talks about that because of Johnny's free kick.
Let's talk about it, Brian. Talk me through it.
No, I won two in my own half. I won two in the other half. Cut inside in a slot.
Now, when you scored the goal like that and Method scores one, what does the gaffer say to you at the end of it?
You'll never believe it. Yeah. So you score, and there's only about 6-7 minutes to go, and we're at the Trent end, and you're in the crowd, I've scored the winner. You get in the dressing room at the end, and he says, next time you score a goal, young man, come and hug me, because it's me that puts you in the team, no them behind the goal.
Bro, is that right?
That's right. He had a brilliant thing he used to do with Peter. Football players know themselves how well they've done in the game, in a match.
Yeah.
And if you thought you've done well and you're walking out the dressing room with a wee swagger, he'd be sitting there and shout, "Hoi, you didn't do as well as you thought today," and just leave you hanging.
Yeah.
Or if you're walking out, "Hey, well done, that's more like it." The psychology,
brilliant.
You're walking out, you've scored a goal, the chest sticking out, all of a sudden he hits you this wee one-liner, and maybe I didn't do as well as I thought.
Yeah.
It really was. He had you on edge all the time.
Yeah.
You just didn't know where.
Have you got a favourite memory of him?
A favourite memory of him? There's that many, Peter. There's that many. My favourite memory? I think any time we beat Manchester United.
Is that right?
Yeah, there was just with Sam, with Old Trafford. He'd done something to me, Peter. The replay of the Hillsborough game, I played on the Thursday night in the reserve game against Leeds. In fact, Gary Speed, God rest him, was playing for Leeds reserves. David Batty, they were all playing the Leeds reserve team. And I came in after the game and he says to me, "You're playing Sunday. Phone your dad, get him to Old Trafford, you're playing Sunday." So, let's say, we don't do shape corners or anything like that at all. He's just told you you're playing. So we're on the bus to Old Trafford on the Sunday afternoon. He comes out the bus, he says, "I'm making one change. You're no playing, young man. You sit beside me." That was it. My dad and all that were doing it at the game, blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't even stripped.
Is that right?
I wasn't even stripped. In fact, and there was
had you done anything wrong in the days up to it? No.
No. That's just the way it was.
You
just accepted it.
Yeah.
You just accepted it. It was torture.
Yeah.
But the respect and for what he'd done for you personally.
Yeah.
Through your career down there, looking after you and your family and all that is. It's just, I'm telling you, he's God to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I've had one day in his company and you've had many days, so it's absolutely fantastic. Listen, there's lots I want to talk to you about. From Nottingham Forest, you know, as a professional footballer, who's the best you've played against?
There's two that stick out. We went in a friendly match to play against Auxerre. He told us one day, bring your passports tomorrow. And that was it. He said, you're only going away for a couple of days. I'll tell you tomorrow where you're going. We flew to France, we played Auxerre, and Enzo Schifo played.
The Belgian.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, it was like chasing a stolen motor. It was like chasing a stolen motor, I swear to God. Couldn't get near him, couldn't get near his shadow. Just could not get near him. And I think Paul Gascoigne.
Yeah.
Paul Gascoigne was sensational.
Did he speak to you in the middle of the park?
Oh, he spoke, but I didn't know what he said. But his football done his speaking, didn't it?
Yeah.
He was a kid at Newcastle at the time as well. And then just seeing him playing at that age and watching his career, and there's been that many good players. I think at that spell, your Brian Robsons, and there was loads of good players.
Yeah.
But Gascoigne, for me, sticks out. And the boy Enzo Schifo was, I'd seen him on the TV playing. I'd seen him in internationals playing. But just to be there, it was poetry in motion.
Oh, brilliant. And again, not one of those names, you know, it's a name that everybody knows as a number 10, but, you know, not something that you would mention on a regular basis. I'm glad you said that. Was there lows? I mean, the low of Hillsborough clearly will never leave you, but were there lows that you remember in the game when you were ending your career, or something that sticks in your mind?
I was very, very fortunate that I didn't really get many injuries. You know, I didn't get any injuries. The lows are when you're in a team that's fighting relegation, and then you go down. And the lows always for me is if you ever play for a manager that doesn't set his team up to win.
Yeah.
You know, my philosophy is go and win. If it's 6-5, win 6-5. You know, go and score more than the opposition.
Yeah.
And I found myself playing for one or two managers that I didn't enjoy it, Peter. I didn't enjoy the way we were trying to play or whatever. And everybody's got their own way of setting things up. I understand that and I realise that now.
Yeah.
But
sometimes I think that's a better learning curve though, because if you meet someone who does everything against the grain for you, you know, there's a learning curve for you in that as well, to make you maybe even more determined to maybe take the smallest bit of what they did well, but to try and veer away from that negativity. Definitely.
You know, definitely. I think you take a bit of something from everybody. Brian Clough would never let you lie down if you get injured. Yeah. You had to get back on your feet. And if you're really injured, you had to get yourself off the pitch. He wouldn't let the physio on.
Yeah.
You know, and it was amazing how many times you used to just shout, get up. And you would get up. And I've tried to do that. And people think, no, honestly, if you shout, they'll get up. And if it's really hurting them, then they'll go down.
Can I ask you, does that have an effect on you, even from a young, you know, when you were playing under him? Has that had an effect on you in your personal life, where he's had such an impact on you?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely. He had massive impact on me. And like I say, his man management, in me especially, was fantastic. He gave me a lot of dark times as well.
Yeah.
I've just spoke about the semi-final of the Cup and leave me to cup finals and that, when he's told me I'm being in the squad or I'll be sub or whatever, then not even been in it.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't take away for the joy that he brought. You know, and so many things he used to say, he just helped you through life.
Yeah.
You could go to him with anything.
You mentioned you've got friendships there from your playing days. I always think it's a strange thing, but I think Brian Rice and I think John Hughes, I thought the two of you were unbelievable. I mean, I mean, the amount of times I would come in as a young reporter and think to myself, okay, I wonder when this interview is going to start, because he would take centre stage, you'd be his sidekick, and we'd sit there for an hour before anybody's even, I didn't even start the tape.
Well, that's me and Yogi are massive, massive pals. We had 11, 12 year working together before we sort of went our own way. Then we went back working together at Inverness, and we stayed together at Inverness. You know, when I went up there, he says to me, come and stay with me. Peter was staying in this converted farmhouse, and he was downstairs and I was upstairs. On the living room was a big telly, a big table, and a 3-piece suite. And the biggest tactics board you'll ever see.
Is that right?
And I'd be lying in my bed at midnight and I'd hear, chapper. I'd run down the stairs, what is it? He says, see if I'd done this, what would you do? On the tactics board, and I'd do this and do that. I knew you'd do that. I'd see in the morning, I'd wait back upstairs. Maybe about 1:30, chapper. I'll leave back down the stairs. What if I'd done that? I'd be like, you caused me a problem there. And we'd sit there like a game of chess till about 3 in the morning. He says, right, that's what we'll do Saturday. That's what we'll do. And it's, Peter, if I told you, it's incredible. The two is, our minds just were so alike. I done everything for him. I done all the driving, I done all ordering the food, everything. We never had a day off. We used to do in England all the time looking for players. We couldn't afford scouts and that.
Yeah.
Travelling, he'd take his blanket and his pillow, get in the bank on the way back. We get in some place for something to eat. You order for me, you know what I like. In fact, he said, I'm going to start taking a Wednesday off, I'm going to start taking Bev out. He says, you're losing it. He says, so the first Wednesday I'd off, Peter, I was sitting in the house and the phone rang. And I says to my missus, that'll be Yogi. And it wasn't, it was Bev. She says, we're in such and such. What does he order here? I says, what? He says, phone chipper. So I says, he has this, and that.
Yeah.
And it's just, we lived out of each other's pocket with 12, 14, 16 hours a day.
Do you miss him?
Aye, of course I miss him. Warnwell, we're never off the phone. Never off the phone. He's phenomenal to work with. He's 24/7. He used to say to me every day, him and Ross Wilson in the office, Chipper, come up with something that's going to revolutionise Scottish football. Every single day.
Wow.
So I'm picking some, I would do this, I would do. There's certain things I would do.
Aye.
There's certain things I do because the development of kids, for me, is paramount. That's my passion.
What are we doing wrong then?
What are we doing wrong? We're coaching their natural ability out of them. We see somebody that's a good runner with the ball, and we want them to run with 20 yards, then play 1-2s and do this and that. We've got to teach them to be better at what they're good at as well, not what they're bad at.
Yeah.
And there's certain things I would change. You know, I hate watching games in the telly or games that are out where a centre half or a full back gets the ball 20 yards inside their own half and passes back to their goalkeeper. I would have a line for kids up to under 16 or something, a line where you can't pass the ball back to your goalkeeper for there.
Yeah.
To make people move. Can you deal with under pressure? Can you play in this area? You know,
Yeah.
we see the Continentals doing it all the time. We see the centre half stepping and playing 1-2s and doing all that.
Well, it reminds me of the point that you made there, which was, Cloughy saying you play centre forward. I remember, the Ajax coaching ethos was, well, if you're a striker, you can play right back, so that you can understand his problems.
Well, Yogi used to say that. See, because you're a right back, does that mean to say you can't control it, pass it, make an angle and move and score a goal? You know, and we used to say, you're a football player, son. So when somebody asks you, what do you do for a living, you don't say I'm a right back.
Yeah.
You say I'm a football player. So that should entail everything. And you'll have different qualities. You know, there'll be things you're good at and things you're not very good at. So for me, I think, I keep saying the youth development for me is massive. You know, and we've got loads of really good young Scottish players at the minute. We've got loads and we're getting back there. But we've got to keep moving it on.
Yeah. Okay, let's not get to talk to you forever and a day. I want to get things up to date. How big a decision was it to become the manager of Hamilton Accies?
Massive, massive. I never wanted to be a manager. I love being on the grass. I love doing the coaching. Yogi used to come up with ideas and he used to say to me, right, get them out onto the grass and get it done. Get it done. This is what the sort of things I'm looking for. We'd sit and draw it up and he'd let me go on with it and he'd step in when he had to step in. And I loved it. I loved it every day. Because there's coaching and there's training. Training's gone out, getting the ball, doing a wee circle, a wee bit of possession, a bit of crossing and finishing and playing the games. That's training. But to structure it into a coaching session, to get what you're looking for out of that session, that's a difference. Yeah. And that's something I love doing. And I've done a lot of work with the SFA, coaching the coaches and the licence as well, and I love it. People going through their licences, because I take loads for them. As much as they take for me, I take more for them. Because I'll see you doing a session, and I'll go into my room that night and I'll draw them, and I'll adapt it to suit me. So it's been brilliant. I've done that for about maybe the last 10, 12 years as well.
Yeah.
I love being on the grass. I love coaching.
Do you view the Hamilton experience as, a success, or were there things that, that make you think, oh no, it wasn't the way I wanted it to be? Did it live up to it?
Yeah, it lived up to it. Hamilton was probably, at that time, the only club I went to, because I knew the owners, I knew the chairman, I'd worked for them before, and I knew the profile of the club. I knew what they wanted to get back to. They wanted to get back to the youth getting back in the team. They sort of got away from that a little bit, and they wanted back to developing players, getting players in the first team and get the benefits of all that. And they'd been an assistant for just over 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought long and hard about it, and I spoke to Yogi about it. And if I wouldn't have done it, the chance might never ever came.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant, Peter, for me. It wasn't new, because you say to yourself, I worked with Yogi that long, we've done everything together.
Oh, exactly.
It was like he was always the manager, but I was always there with him, and I knew exactly what I had to do. He made the major decisions, and he dealt with the press, and the twos dealt with the board and everything like that. But Hamilton was a brilliant experience for me. It really was a brilliant experience.
I'm not going to be two-faced about it. I love the way your team, you wanted them to play football. Towards the end, I thought you lacked a wee bit of experience that you wanted on the park. I just thought there was I always watch Hamilton and they defied the relegation time after time because they had a Dougie Emery to complement an Ali Crawford. Of
course they did.
Do you know what I mean? I thought that was the one thing that was lacking. Is that fair comment or
100%? No, I think you're 100% right. One of the things that made me make the decision I made was the COVID. Really, really difficult to deal with Hamilton. You know, we were out to play Aberdeen, second game of the season. They had 8 out with COVID, and Constantine had been sent off on the Saturday. They were missing 9 players. I was missing 1. The game got put off. The time the game came round, Aberdeen had everybody back. I was missing 7. I played at Ibrox with 8 fit players. We got beat 8-0. 8 fit players, we couldn't get the game off. St Mirren we were meant to play St Mirren. They got the game off. We got the points. They took the points back off us. And the injury situation last year and this year was horrendous. Peter, it was 12, 13 players injured every week.
Yeah.
And it was all my experienced players. My forward-thinking players, everything like that. And the fight against relegation, it just got on top of me.
Yeah. Did it scunner you? Was that?
It didn't scunner me. It didn't scunner me, Peter. Football never ever scunners me. I was just finding it so difficult to deal with on a daily basis.
On a mental situation? Yeah. How difficult must that have been? Did you look for somebody to say, did you get the chance to turn around to somebody and say, listen, even on a personal basis, I need a wee bit of help?
I spoke to loads of people.
Yeah.
I spoke to 2 or 3 people that I really trust, to them about it. I thought I was doing all right, but yeah, I've always felt as though I was pushing uphill. I was pushing uphill, Peter, you know. I go back for the beginning of the season, pre-season, this is great, this is magic, the boys will all be back, the ones that were all injured will be back. They weren't back.
No.
Nah, then 2 or 3 broke down right away in training. And I'm looking and I'm saying, what am I going to do here?
Yeah.
You know, and it just was a constant struggle for me. It really was a constant struggle. And I just felt as though the right decision for Hamilton is for me to step aside.
Yeah.
And the right decision for me was to step aside at that time.
And you loved football because I must admit, I've been at many a ground. I'm like yourself, I like watching every team. Even if there's a game that we're not covering for our company, I would go and watch it and say, well, I'd like to see other players and what they're doing and how they're playing, how the managers, and I would see you there and I think to myself, bloody hell, Chipper. I'm expecting you to line the park and you're not even at the club. You seem to eat, sleep and you drink the whole thing.
I do, Peter, I do, and that's maybe my problem. But if I do something, I put my heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
And going to games is something I love doing. I absolutely love it. Always have done.
Yeah.
Always have done. I had a job at Watford where when I worked with Sean and that. Sean used to do my boots. He was my boot boy, Sean Deitch, in Nottingham Forest. He was my boot boy. And I ended up working for him. And I was doing scouting and looking at players and looking at the opposition. And I'd watch 2 or 3 games a day.
Yeah.
I stayed down there. I shared a flat with Ross Wilson.
Wow.
He was in at the ground and I was away looking at these games all week and coming back and just watching football, and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm still doing it now, Peter, even though I'm not involved at the minute. I'm gone. Nigel Clough's got a lad on loan at Morton. Nigel phoned me, could you go and see? No problem, I'll go and see him. And listen, I go any place, junior games, I go and watch kids playing.
Yeah.
I think it's important that you watch football.
2 things that I want to ask you about before we finish. I think there's a great lesson in life, not only from the times that you've mentioned that you played in football, but a great lesson in life from your own personal situation. How important it is, I think, for people to be able to reach out and talk, especially young footballers. I mean, what's the best bit of advice, bearing in mind that everybody knows your trials and tribulations, you know, from a personal point of view, whether gambling or in situations where you've had setbacks. What's the best bit of advice that maybe someone that you would pass on to a young footballer?
I always think when people have got problems, they think it's a weakness to talk about it. where it's the absolute opposite. It's a strength. It's a strength to talk. Get it out there, get it off your chest. It's difficult. It's really difficult, but get it out there. There's help there. There's help there. I've helped since my gambling problems came out 2 years ago. You know, the weight off my shoulders has been immense, absolutely immense. And the amount of people, players, coaches that phone me privately,
Yeah.
you know, and I try and help them. I try and help them. That's a big part of my life.
Yeah.
Doing that. And I read the statement that we put out at Hamilton, and there was some personal stuff in there. And I went, people will think that's gambling.
Yeah.
That's no gambling, Peter, at all. I've never gambled in 2 years. I'll never gamble. I'll no gamble a day, Peter.
Yeah.
That's all I need to do.
Well, it's a day-to-day. It's like an addiction for alcoholism, isn't it?
Every addiction. So we live a day-to-day. But MD's got a problem. There's somebody there to help them. There's somebody there to help them. Don't live it alone, because it only gets worse.
Yeah. I look at you now. You walked into the studio, and I thought, well, Chipper looks great. That's fantastic. The one thing that was in my head, and I don't know if you'll know this by the strength of the friends that you have, the one thing that was in my head, and I'd mentioned to Charlie Adam, I'd said to him, I said, you know, I see Chipper at all the games, and he's not, you know, he's not the manager of Hamilton Accies anymore. I'm going to phone him just at the right time, though, to see if I can come and have a chat with you, and we can shoot the breeze and talk about great games and how you know, you played as a footballer. And he said, I had a chat with Chipper last week, so I thought, great, let's phone him. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, now's the time for me to phone you to say, right, you must be itching to get back in.
Oh, 100%. It was itching the next day.
Yeah.
I was itching the next day when I woke up the next day. I didn't wake up the next day and think, what the hell have I done? I woke up the next day and say, right, what's the next challenge for me here now?
Brilliant.
What's the next challenge? My pals were on the phone, you want to go away for a few days golfing, you want to go away for a few beers, day this, day that. I says, no, a job might come up.
Yeah.
I need to get working again.
Manager or assistant?
Yeah, listen, I just want back in the grass.
Yeah.
You know, if a manager's job comes up, great. I want to get back on the grass coaching. That's my strength.
Yeah.
I think people tell me that's my strength. You know, it's not for me to say, but I love it. I miss it. I miss it like hell.
Yeah.
I don't just miss the day-to-day involvement with players and all that stuff. What I miss is challenging myself. The challenge to myself.
Yeah.
To go out there and get the sessions right, to get the message across, and to improve players.
And I may be being slightly biased here, but I think if a chairman is looking and thinking, okay, we've got a club here with, and no disrespect to Hamilton, because you have to play within the parameters of the players that you've got, 100%. You know. But if a chairman is there and saying, listen, not only his experience, but the way he wants to play football, I would love to see you get a club where you had the mixture of youngsters, but you had the ability to go and sign that wee bit of class. That would be, I mean, I think they would excel with you at the helm.
So we done it with Russell Latapi. Latapi came to Falkirk. He was unbelievable, 36, 37-year-old. And him and amongst your Arfields and your Scobies and all these lads, he helped them immensely. You know, you've got to get that balance right. You know, and I think we would have got it right at Hamilton once injuries and that came back, but that's history now. I can't look back, I've got to look forward. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to get back in. Same as a lot of people are.
North or south?
North, south, east or west, it doesn't matter to me.
Brian, listen, that's great. I mean, I listen, this show could have gone on for about 2 or 3 hours, but unfortunately I can hear everybody saying, if you go into the Brian Rice youth years, I'm going to kill you. It's been an absolute joy. I mean, I've loved the stories from the playing days, but more importantly, I think the value for me in this is the lessons that young footballers can learn from you, the value of the quality of coaching you've got to offer. I genuinely hope someone out there, a chairman, is looking and saying, this is Brian Rice's time here for a different style. Let's see what you can do. Fingers crossed. Listen, you've name dropped more than anybody on this show. You're holding the record on this show for name drops. I don't think you're going to be beaten by everybody. You've had some great friends, and that's the last point I'm going to say to you. The friends, isn't it great that they're still there for you in good times and bad? Oh yeah,
that's massive. The phone never stops with them. They phone you when you lose and pick you up, and they phone you when you win and say to you, it'll not be that easy next week.
Yeah.
You know, they're there all the time, and you can pick the phone up to any of them. You can pick the phone up to anybody, and if they don't answer, they will phone back.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I always do, Peter. I always phone back. I never ignore.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep phoning you.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
An absolute joy.
Thank you, Peter.
Hi there. If you enjoyed watching our content, don't forget to subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel.